My name is Sanjay Srivastava. Thanks for joining our AI lab. I was a webinar here. So quick bit about the agenda. I'm going to talk about for about 10 minutes about Vocareum. So this is basically to give you an overview to those of you who might not be familiar with what we do. Then we're really excited to have Professor Wang here with us. He's going to be talking about his real world classroom experience using Vocareum Jupyter and with GPUs. And then Peter Kim, who are AI, senior AI engineer, he's going to be doing a demo of some of the other AI capabilities that we have. And we'll then have a drawing and also a Q&A session. If you have any questions in the meantime, please go ahead and ask it. There are some of us standing around. So first of all, Vocareum, what's our mission? Is to deliver cloud resources for learning AI and for learning AI data and cloud skills. And the reason why we think it's important because it used to be that your learner, you could ask them to maybe install the tools on your laptop, or maybe the tools are available for them in the university data centers if they had access to it. But often in this day and age, that's not enough. You might need to deliver resources which are actually only delivered as a cloud service. And that comes with its own unique set of challenges. One of the big one is that a lot of these cloud resources are built by consumption. So someone has to worry about making sure that the learners do not go over budget. Also, these resources often do not come with a user management layer. So you can't conveniently have the learner go through, let's say, your Canvas, your LTI link, and access exactly the activity they're supposed to work on it. So these are some of the challenges that we are trying to solve. Just to give you a sense about the scale, we have about 4 million learners. We are in about 7,000 universities. And we have a 10 major edtech partners. So edtech partners would be companies like Udacity, Udemy, Simply-Learn, etc. Here is a list of our core products. The first one is AI Notebook. Essentially, this is a family of notebooks that we provide. So we are somewhat agnostic to, we have built an open architecture, so we are somewhat agnostic to what interface the learner uses. So you'll see two of them, Jupyter Lab and also Vocareum's own notebook, but we are also support things like, for example, SageMaker Studio. Then account management for AWS, Azure, and GCP, and this is especially relevant for universities who have to worry about how to distribute AWS or cloud access, but do it in a manner which is once again secured and budgeted. Then, as you can imagine, 2023 we invested a lot of energy in our Gen AI access, and this we will talk a lot more about is how do we deliver managed Gen AI access. And then last year we announced a partnership with Databricks Lab, where we are with Databricks, where we provide the lab so that learners can access Databricks. And then we provide cyber ranges. So when we say cloud resources for data and AI education, what we mean is GPUs that we'll talk about a little bit more, OpenAI, we will discuss that. One of our university partners have their own custom Llama 2 installation, so they want to give access to that. AWS, Azure, and GCP, as I mentioned earlier on, and Databricks. And this is a little bit of a unique use case, and we'll come back to it in a second. Then we are also launching Bedrock classes. And in terms of our roadmap, Anthropic, Cohere, and AWS SageMaker. So we do support AWS as what we call a cloud lab, where the learner gets a budgeted access to an account. What we mean by here is like a multi-account where the learner can directly go to, we can create a user profile. And so the user does not need his own account, but you can send them to their own area. So just a little bit of, and this can be a little confusing because what we have learned, like how Vocareum AI solutions are being deployed, and these use cases are fairly different. So Professor Wang was going to talk about, training and fine-tuning model using GPUs. And then Peter will show some other use cases, like how do you build a model using web services? And by web services, we mean, something like an OpenAI or a Bedrock. Then This is where you are. A lot of our university partners again are saying that they just want to deliver budgeted credential, and sometimes it's not even for academic use. It could be for a non-academic use. You want to deploy, let's say, to your HR department or someone else, and they were so we had to build a whole new flow which actually supports getting access to these through maybe a deployment for like ServiceNow, and then deploying custom models. So fair amount of experiment is going on, as you can expect, where someone is taking let's say, OpenAI or maybe their own Llama 2, and maybe building a RAG model to say build virtual tutors and things like that. And once again, they have to deploy it so that the learners can get access to it in an environment conveniently, most likely through ITI. And also, once again, it is budgeted, so that the budget stays under control. And you'll see the budget sort of theme throughout our presentation, because that's one of the unique value that we focus on to make sure that the cost stays under control. So in terms of Vocareum AI Notebook, here are some of the things that you would do. We provide. So this is our kind of interface which we use to deliver all the resources that we talked about it. And the resources come built in with budgeted GPU, Gen AI budget, integration with LTI. You can customize your Docker image. The work area is persistent, so if the user comes back, they don't lose their work. You can deliver large data set. So the way we do it, that we mount a file system, a read-only file system for the learners. So if you want to deliver, like say 20 gigabyte, you can deliver as a read-only data set. It is faster for the learner. They don't have to download it from somewhere on the web, and it's less expensive. And then there are auto grading. There are a lot of assessment features like auto grading, code comments, flexible interface, and we have even added prompts. So here are some of the like AI and our partnerships that are really proud of it. For example, AWS Academy is our largest partner, where they deliver cloud computing courses, and they announced in July 1st that they hit 1 million learners. We are in about 6,000 universities just because of our partnership with Amazon. We are launching more and more courses. For example, this is the Deep Learning AI, AWS and DeepLearning.ai partnership for LLM, where we are providing the labs for learners to get hands-on experience with LLMs. Here's something which you announced last, I guess this week, on Wednesday, that we are contributing to. There's an SF initiative about 20,000 notebooks to hopefully democratize access to AI education resources. And the big things, of course, is integration. We realized very early on that these labs and these resources cannot exist in isolation. They have to be delivered as a part of the overall learning experience. So we have lots of integrations with platforms like AWS Academy, Educate, Databricks Academy, edX, Udemy, and then a lot of it is delivered through our LTI integration with LLMS like Canvas or Blackboard. As I mentioned, we have about 7,000 universities which are partner, including Georgia Tech. So that's my 10 minutes. And at this point, I would like to hand it to Professor Bong.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. So first, a little bit about myself. So I'm currently an associate professor at Georgia Tech School of Industrial and Systems Engineering. I've been here since 2017. I'm also affiliated with Supply Chain and Logistics Center and the Machine Learning Center at Georgia Tech. So my background is in operations research and industrial engineering. For my research, I do research in revenue management, supply chain, transportation, logistics, and machine learning. And in terms of teaching, so I teach in both undergraduate and graduate level. So at the undergraduate level, I teach supply chain economics. And recently, I developed a new course called Tools for Data Analytics, which I will talk about today. And at the graduate level, I teach 2 PhD courses, revenue management and inventory theory. So a lot of these courses, there's a data component, right? So tools like Vocareum will be great. But today I want to talk more about this Tools for Data Analytics course. So this, the audience of my course is undergraduates who have a prior knowledge of Python and SQL. So here at Georgia Tech, we have a big undergraduate program in IE. We have 600 undergrads per year, so about 1,600 undergrads in total. And recently, we established a undergraduate major track in analytics, which is becoming very popular. So currently, about 50% of our undergrads are in this data analytics track. So I want to create a course that focuses on tools for data analytics. So the main purpose for my course is I want to fill this gap between some basic Python programming course or SQL, and later they will also take some advanced courses like machine learning. But oftentimes they don't have enough experience to deal with real-world data. So in my course, I want to introduce open source Python libraries, libraries like NumPy, pandas for data processing, matplotlib for visualization, and some machine learning tools, scikit-learn, XGBoost, TensorFlow, and some distributed computing libraries like PySpark. Okay. So for my course, I include both a series of lectures as well as some hands-on lab sessions. So in these lab sessions, the students will have opportunities to work on real-world data sets. I do everything in Jupyter notebooks, so including lectures, lab exercises, as well as assignments, exams. I also have a team projects, so I do all these in Jupyter notebooks through Vocareum. So why did I choose Vocareum for my course? In fact, when I started designing my course, I looked at a lot of solutions because there are other existing solutions for cloud-based notebooks. So the first thing I love about Vocareum is integration with LMS, the learning management system, in our case, Canvas, because I really want to create this smoothless experience for students, right? So they can go to Canvas, just click a button, and it will open a Jupyter notebook in web browser for them. They don't need to sign up for any accounts or anything. So this smooth experience makes it easy for students as well as teachers. The second is I can install packages for students. As Sanjay mentioned earlier, we can create a customized Docker image. So basically what this means is, suppose I'm teaching XGBoost or TensorFlow, these machine learning packages. So these packages, they have different versions, and in different versions, so some APIs may be a little bit different. So I want all my students to use the same version. So I can install these packages for students so that they don't have to worry about the version control. And third one, built-in auto-grading, right? So not only can Vocareum do auto-grading, but the grades will be automatically synced with Canvas. So that saves a lot of time for me and my teaching assistant to managing student grading. And the fourth one, so this is a feature I found out during the semester I find very helpful, which is after you release the assignment, as an instructor, you can update the grading scripts. So for all my assignments, I use auto-grading, so that will provide real-time feedback to students. The student finish some part, they can submit, they can see if they get it correct or not. And despite all my efforts to make sure that all assignments are bug-free, sometimes I do have some errors or scripts. Okay, so if I find out some errors, even after the assignments are released, I can update them, and it will automatically update it on the student side, so they don't have to download the assignment again or redo the assignment, right? So I find this feature very, very convenient. And finally, as instructors or as TAs, we can get access to student workspace. So if they get stuck, we can go into their website, go into their notebook and help them. So also I find this features very helpful. So next, let me show you a few quick demos how I used Vocareum for my class. Okay, so I created a demo course. So as you can see, this is Canvas. This is our course management system. So I'm going to switch to student view. So I click this button. So now pretending I'm a student, right? As a student, so this is usually the place where I upload, course lectures, slides, notes, and I can also add Vocareum notebooks here. So from the student perspective, this is just another course material. They don't need to sign up for an account or anything. So this is very convenient. So let's say we want to do this GPU exercise. So the student click this button, and it takes a few seconds to load. And then now we open a Vocareum notebook in their browser. So here I already prepared this material to students. So courses, I create the notebooks, I can upload data, and the student, they can just open a web browser and it's ready to go. So it's very convenient. So in this demo, we're gonna use GPU to train an XGBoost model. For those of you who are not familiar with XGBoost, it's a tree-based model that has become very popular in recent years. So let's start by, let me make this full screen. Okay, so let's start by running this command. So this exclamation point, so that means we can run some system command in Jupyter Notebooks. So we run this NVIDIA SMI command. As you can see, we have a GPU ready. So here this shows we have NVIDIA A10G GPU. So current temperature is 21 degrees. This also shows the GPU memory. So something that some students don't realize is that the GPUs, these discrete GPUs, they have separate memories from the CPU memory. So otherwise, if the GPU is using the CPU memory, you basically have a lot of time with the I/O. Okay, so we have the GPU ready, and then next, let's load the necessary Python packages. So we're going to use pandas and sklearn. So this is standard, data processing library as well as machine learning library. We're also going to use XGBoost and TensorFlow. So XGBoost is this tree-based model, and TensorFlow is the neural network package. I'm not going to do neural network today, but I will use TensorFlow to download this data set. So here we want to we want to use this fashion MNest data set. So this includes some images of fashion items from a company called Zalando. This is a European e-commerce company. So we download the data set, and let's take a look at the size of this data set. So we have 60,000 images in our training set and 10,000 images in our testing set. So each image is a grayscale 28 by 28 pixel image. We can actually show these images. So I will use matplotlib's imshow function. Let's just take a look at the first image. So this is what the image looked like. You can see this is something like a boot. And we can take it, look at more images. So let's take a look at a sample containing the first 40 images. I'm also going to add the true labels for these images. Okay, so this is the images in the data set. You can see there are different categories. In total, there are 10 different categories. And these are the grayscale images. Basically, the task is I give you input as an image, right? And you want to build a machine learning model to predict the class. Is this an ankle boot? Is this a t-shirt? Is this a dress? Okay, so let's prepare the data. So first, we want to reshape the data from 2D arrays to 1D arrays, right? Because they are images, so essentially it's a 28 by 28 matrix. We want to flatten them so that they become a vector. So we reshape. Now the data becomes just a long vector of 784. Next, so this step is optional, but I find it useful to split the training set further into a training set and a validation set, because if you want to do something like hyperparameter tuning, you can use validation set for that purpose. So I'm going to further split the training set into 90% for actual training and the remaining 10% as a holdout set for validation. Okay, so now we have the data ready. So let's start with CPU training. So for this, I'm going to just use a basic XGBoost model with the default hyperparameter. So here I will train an XGBoost with 10 trees. So here I specify an estimator equal to 10. So we have 10 trees. And then we're going to fit the model and then predict it on the test set. Okay. Okay, I hit the enter. So now the training starts. So every time we have output, that means we added one tree to the XGBoost ensemble model. So XGBoost is basically a collection of trees. So we want to train 10 trees in total. So you can see every time we add a tree, it takes a few seconds. Okay, so now we're finished. We have 10 trees. And our final accuracy is 85. So we achieve 85 accuracy in our prediction. And in total, you can see here with CPU, we have a training time of 25 seconds. Okay. Next, let's use GPU. Okay, so again, we want to train 10 trees, but this time using the GPU capacity. So in XGBoost, depending on the version, the command may be slightly different. So if you have XGBoost version less than 2.0, you can here in the tree method, you can specify its GPU hist. If you have XGBoost version greater than 2.0, the API is a bit different. So here you will specify device equal to CUDA. So because we're using XGBoost 1.6, I'm going to use the first one. So there's another convenient feature from Vocareum. We can control the versions of these packages for students. Okay. So let's start training. So here you can see it's much faster, right? It takes less than 1 second to add a tree. So we finished training in just 2.68 seconds, so about 10 times faster. Okay, so this allows you to build larger models, train faster to have better accuracy. For example, instead of 10 trees, suppose I want to have, let's say, 50 trees. Okay, so let's run it again. So it's going to take slightly longer, but not much longer, and then we achieve 50 trees, right? So now we have accuracy of close to 90%. So that's an improvement from 85%. And in total, with 50 trees, it takes less than 10 seconds. So in comparison with CPU, right, with 10 trees, you need 25 seconds. So it's much faster to do GPU. So this is what I show in my course. I have a lot of students who are interested in the capabilities of GPU. Some students at the beginning of the course, they specifically asked me, Professor, are we going to teach GPUs in the course? Basically, I promised, yes, we can do this in Vocareum. So this is my GPU demo.
For the remainder of the demos, I'm going to be using Vocareum Notebook. So Sanjay touched on this a little bit earlier. But what exactly is it? So it's our new completely custom, built from the ground up IDE, which we hope will soon kind of be the landing page for anyone who enters Vocareum, whether it's a student or a grader or even an instructor in the instructor view. but it's really more than just an IDE. We have designed it so that it's the source for anything that we as Vocareum offer. So it's going to be really easy to see submissions, grades, any budget information. And we also have built-in support to launch other applications or other IDEs of your choice. So I'll be demonstrating this in just a little bit, but we'll be able to support Jupyter Lab, VS Code, launching a terminal, etc. So for my demos, I have 3 kind of categories that I'll be going over. And the first demo, I'm going to be talking about how we show real-time budget information for an OpenAI key. And I'm going to be using a notebook which does Q&A retrieval with they're using RAG on OpenAI. The second category is how we're delivering access to LLMs through JavaScript. And for this, we are using, once again, OpenAI, but also a custom model that we have deployed. And finally, we have budgeted key generation. So this is more interesting probably for organization administrators. And this is how, as an org admin, you can basically create and deliver budgeted keys to anyone in your organization. And along with that, we also provide analytics so that you can keep track of who's spending and how the keys are being distributed. So with that said, I'll jump in straight to the demos. So once again, I'll be doing everything in Canvas. As Professor Wang said, it seems to be a very popular LMS with universities. And the first example, I'm going to go into this OpenAI. Actually, that's the wrong one. Sorry. LangChain and embeddings. So real quick, I just want to show off how, as an instructor, how easy it is to set a budget and enable OpenAI for an assignment. So if I go into the assignment settings here, I just go to resources. And if your organization has added an OpenAI or other LM key, then you will be able to enable it here. So I've already enabled an OpenAI key, and I'll set a budget of, let's say, $1 for this assignment. So I save the part. And now I'm going to go to student view. So this is the Vocareum Notebook presentation. I'll quickly go over what's on the left side. So here we have our file tree, as well as any submissions and scores. I haven't submitted anything, so there's nothing here. And then we have our applications tab. So if you, as a, say as a student, you wanted to launch Jupyter Lab, you can do that within Vocareum Notebook. So it should take a couple seconds, and then it will launch it as a tab within the IDE here. So yeah, here, this is what the professor just showed off at Jupyter Lab. But now, if the added benefit is that if the student want to see their previous submissions, for example, they can do that really quickly by going here. There would be a tree of their submissions. And finally, we have budget information in the bottom left corner, sorry. This is OpenAI. So here you can see that it says $1, but it's really a little less than $1 because I've done a few tests and used a few hundredths of a cent. And this is the dollar that I set earlier for the assignments, and here are the credentials that are being delivered. So with that said, let me go to the notebook that I'll be showing off. So for this assignment, I'm going to be using a library, LangChain, to do Q&A, question and answer with RAG. So real quick, I'm going to import the required libraries. Oh, actually, I want to show this in Vocareum Notebook. Everything can be done in Jupyter Lab, as you can see, but first, switch back to Vocareum Notebook. So this will kill the Jupyter Lab session. So I've imported the libraries, and now in the file tree here, what I've done is I've created a text file with the complete contents of the Adventures of Tom Sawyer, the novel. So I have everything here, and what we're going to do is we're going to load the source text and then split it into chunks. So the chunk size is 1,000, and then we're going to split it into documents, which is LangChain's terminology of kind of like little text files with headers of additional information. For the embeddings, we're going to be using OpenAI. So OpenAI's embeddings. And then for the vector store, we're going to be using Face from Facebook. And by doing this, we can create the embeddings from our documents, and then using Face, retrieve the appropriate documents, and then send those along with our prompts to OpenAI to then get a response. Okay. And then finally, this is how I've set up the chain. So for those unfamiliar with LangChain, a chain is kind of a bunch of function calls that go one after another, hence the name chain. So I've created a RAG chain here, and what I've done is the context are going to be the documents that get retrieved from our vector database. And then the question will then get sent to, along with our prompt that is inputted by the user, is then sent to the LLM, which I've specified as OpenAI, chat OpenAI. And then finally, we're going to send that to a string output parser, so it's a little easier for us to read. So here's a little helper function, generate text, to basically then take any prompts, and then we're going to send it with our documents. And so the question was, who is Huckleberry Finn? Huckleberry Finn is a character in the novel Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain. So I can, for those who haven't read the book, this answer is correct. And what's cool is that this answer is purely pulling from information that is in the novel itself. So everything that was outputted came from embeddings that Face found to be relevant, and then was sent to OpenAI, and then was constructed into this response. So one final thing for this example is we have something called a prompt cell, which is unique to Vocareum Notebook, because once again, since it's completely custom, we have the freedom to add a few extra things that aren't available in a traditional Jupyter Lab environment. And the prompt cell is a way to, for one, you can use it to directly chat with OpenAI without the need to start a kernel. But also you can use it to, if you select a notebook function, I've selected the generate text function, which I've defined above. And alternatively, instead of running this cell, I can just kind of chat with it as if it were a chatbot. So I can ask, who is Huckleberry Finn? And here, Huckleberry Finn is a character in the book, Tom Sawyer. And this is just kind of an alternate way to chat with your model. And it might be useful for development to make sure that your RAG is doing the correct thing. So you can really just quickly fire off multiple prompts. So that is the first example. I forgot to mention, so here, this is the budget panel. And as you can see, I have included a little more budget through the use of these OpenAI calls in this demo. And the budget does update live in real time. Hopefully I'll show that off in the next example. But what we really wanted to focus on is the ability to very clearly show to the user how much budget they have remaining at a glance at all times. For the second example, I want to show how we've delivered OpenAI access purely through JavaScript. So what I mean by that is that I have this page, and this page is a README. So it's pure HTML and JavaScript. Here at the top, you can see that we have budget information once again. And because it's pure HTML and JavaScript, the layout or the UI is completely up to the instructor. Of course, we are more than happy to provide some like a starter template such as this. But what I can do now is send a prompt to OpenAI. So how are you? And hopefully we'll see the budget update in real time. Maybe that was a little too small. So I can ask, what is Vocareum? And yeah, you can see that it just decremented a little bit. And yeah, this is done purely through JavaScript. We've created a custom JavaScript library. So all you need to do is add it as a script source somewhere in your page. And with that, you basically have access to the budgeted keys that we provide. And because it's just a README file, you can just drop it in, integrate it with Canvas, Canvas pages, anywhere that you want. And so similarly to that, what we have also done is do something very similar where we have a JavaScript library that's providing, budgeted key access, but this time through what we call model deployment. So the first example notebook that I showed, the Tom Sawyer one, for this example, I have split that original notebook into a training notebook and an inference notebook. So we can quickly, I guess I can't show them here, but the training notebook, basically, it does the same thing. It stores the embeddings in a vector database. And the vector database is on our network file system. So it's public to all the users of the course. So anyone in the course has access to those embeddings. And then the inference notebook is where we have what I showed before, where we call a prompt and get the embeddings, send them to OpenAI. So here, once again, this is just a custom UI that I've developed, but it can really be anything. But I can ask it, why did Tom? Why did Tom and Huckleberry go to the graveyard? And they went to the graveyard because they were drawn to it by an unaccountable fascination. So this feature is still in development, but the reason I'm showing this is because we believe that there are a ton of possible use cases for it. Just basically being able to deploy a model and then give access to it through JavaScript, through any web page that you want. So if you want to create, for example, like a chemistry tutor, you could create a database of chemistry documents, and then you can have your LLM help your students that way. Or you can train something with financial documents, for example, and then have your LLM analyze those instead. So we think it's some really cool, exciting tech. We are excited to see what people will do with it. And that concludes the VMB portion of my demo. So this is more for the instructors and the students. For org admins, however, we realize that, cost is obviously a very important thing. And we've created a new, what we call a Gen AI control center. So this page here is, I'll zoom in a little bit, is a dashboard of all Gen AI related stuff for your organization. So here we have a list of courses.
Peter, I think you're showing a different tab or page. I don't see the Gen AI one. I'm seeing your previous.
Okay, I'll share again. You see it now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So this is the Gen AI dashboard page. And it's gonna take a few seconds to load, but here we can see spend for your organization, the number of keys, as well as, however much total has been budgeted. We have a breakdown of the amount being used by each course. And here are all the courses that have created a Vocareum managed API key. So here you can also add keys for your organization. So here we've already added the OpenAI key that I was using, and you could add, Azure Llama 2 or a custom key. And finally, we have a user key section. So as Sanjay was saying, sometimes you want to be able to just create and deliver keys without having the user, go into an assignment, which is traditionally when we generate the key for these users. So for example, using Shingo, who's a fellow engineer here at Vocareum, he has one key created here, but with a budget of $2. But for example, I can create another key for OpenAI. Of course, if you have other keys added besides OpenAI for your organization, they would show up here. And yeah, it shows up right here. So all we would do is then we can copy the key, send it to the user, and then they have access to the key and they can play with it however they want up to the budget that's defined for them. Currently, there's a limit of, I believe, 5 keys that we are supporting for each LLM type. But yeah, we believe that this is another really cool feature to help, facilitate learning about LLMs and Gen AI without needing to go through the whole Vocareum process. There's a question about auto grading, Sanjay. Will it be demonstrated today? I could show something.
We can, why don't we just, maybe in 5 minutes, we can just quickly show the auto grading. Yeah, why don't you set it up, Peter, so we can just quickly show something. Yeah, go ahead.
Actually, Peter, I also have a demo for that.
Okay, why don't you go, Professor Bong? That would be better. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, go for it.
So here I have both an assignment and an exam. So I can go to an exam. So again, I'm back to the student view. So as a student, I open exam. I load this. So I do exam in class. So this is not a take-home exam because I want student to do it in limited time. So here I created a demo exam. You can also make this assignment. So this task is to predict flight prediction, to predict flight price. So I provide some instructions, right? So during the exam, the students will start. So here, so let me delete this. So the student first loads the necessary libraries. And here I have a few questions. So each question you can see the student will type their code. And I have some auto grading tasks. So here, so the first task is to read this data set and parse this feature. So we will use pandas, so read CSV. I'm going to copy the file name. Okay, so I read it and I want to save it to this data set called airline, and I return the first 5 rows. I will do airline.head. Okay, so here you can see this data set. This is I have airline information, departure date, and as a student, you can submit. Okay. Are you sure you want to submit? I allow unlimited number of submit during exams. Of course, you can also set a limit how many times you can submit. And after submitting, the auto grade will automatically start. So I'll show a grading script later. So during the exam, the student can get real-time feedback on how they're performing. So this should just take a few seconds. Okay, the auto grading is done. But you can see I have questions, but for question 1, I didn't get the point. I have 0 out of 1, right? So why? Because you see in the question, it says, please parse the departure date as datetime, but I didn't do that. So in fact, if you check the data types, so let's do airline.dtypes. You can see this departure date. By default, this is object or the string data type, right? So let's add parse dates, and we add the column name, departure date. Okay, so let's read the data set again. So you can see this appears the same, but if you check the data types, you can see now the departure date is the date time. Okay, and the student can submit again. Okay, and we'll do the auto grading again. So basically, the student can do this during the assignment. So in this case, while we're rating, in fact, the student will still get, let's see. So in fact, the way that I set this up, after auto grading, the student will still not get the point. Okay, so why? Because in this case, the student actually did everything correct. Okay, but the reason is in my grading script, I made a mistake. So if I go to my grading script for this exam, so now I switch back to the teacher view. Okay, so I click exam, configure workspace. Okay, I open exam. Okay, so this is, you can see the grading script. So I provided my solution and I have these hidden tests. So these are hidden from the students, but this is how I check if the students' results are correct. You can see in my grading script, I want to check if the output, so this underscore from Jupyter Notebook, it refers to the previous cell output. I want to check it with the first 10 rows, right? But my question says, please return the 5 rows. So this is my mistake. But I can easily change this. So now this becomes 5 rows. I save the file. And I click this generate notebook. So this will push my new notebook to students. So let's regenerate it. Okay, so this is deploying to students. And I can do this live, even during exam. I find something wrong with my grading script, I can adjust it. So now let's go back to the student view. And the student doesn't need to change anything. The student can just submit again. So hopefully this time the student will get the point. So let's see. Okay, so now we submit it, and then we're doing the auto grading. Oh, I don't know, maybe it's something wrong. But anyway, so if the student get the point, the point will actually be synced directly with Canvas. So here in the grade, so the grade will be directly updated. So you don't have to do this manually. So this is the whole auto grading feature I loved.